technique is the Shag, what I call the Shag carpet technique. So again, you don't have to do this technique if you don't want to. But I waited to show you this technique until you were, close to halfway down your weave. What you're going to need to do for this technique is get an arm's length, couple arm's length pieces of yarn. You can do different colors, or you can stick with one color. Just cut up one, cut up another. And I would say about this long pieces, so about the size, a little bit longer than my hand. I'm going to cut up a little bit more. So just make a little pile. You can always trim it and make it shorter once you have it on your weave. But starting off with the long pieces, just a nice idea. So for this step, what you're doing is, it's not technically weaving, it's not going the under-over technique, it's more adding this little, here I got an example. This student did it at the very top and the very bottom. When she was done with her weave, she just went back and added it. But if you want some in the middle, so kind of like carpeting, long carpeting, shag carpet, that's what we call it. So what you're going to do, and let me just zoom in a little, if you're doing this somewhere in the middle of your weave, I want you to at least do at least 2 rows at a time. So what you're going to do is find a spot in the middle of your weave between 2 different strands of yarn. I'm going to move this one down a little bit. I'm going to do it right here. So I'm going to do it in this space. This just kind of helps it stay in place if you do it somewhere in the middle here. So starting on one end, you're going to have your yarn go across. And what you're going to do is on one side of your string, you're going to tuck the end of your yarn in and have it go through. So pull that through. And then on the other side of the other string, so you're going between 2 strings, you're going to do the same thing. Tuck it in and pull it through. And I try to make it nice and even before I pull it all the way through. So that's kind of like the little shag carpet. So again, you can trim it after you do it. So I'm just going to set it up there. And then grab my next little strand. And then you're going to, oops. I went through 3 pieces, not 2. Just 2 pieces of yarn or string. 2 strings. Then you're going to overlap. So I'm going to go to this next string over where my finger's pointing to, and this one right here. So again, you're going to go over and through, and then do the same thing on the other side. And pull it through on the top, and then squish it up. And then again, I'm going to start on this string right here. That's sharing with this little piece of yarn, and then move on to the next one. So for this type of loom, the bigger, thicker looms, you'll probably need about 14 pieces for 1 row. For my skinnier looms, I'm going to need some more. So again, you can switch up colors. So again, going over and through one side, and then going over and through and above the other. And kind of pull tight in there. Over and through. Over and through. And you can do this at any time the rest of your weave. It's best to have some, at least be halfway done in your weave, then you can add it in there. So, and going over and through, over and through. I'm going to demonstrate just one row, but I would like you to do 2 rows if you're choosing to do this. Kind of gives it the more shag carpet kind of look. And pull up. I do not want you to do the rest of your weave this way though. I need to concentrate more on the weave, and this is just kind of an additional fun way, a different technique. Add a little flair to your weave. Okay, you got one more. Okay, and then pull up. All right, and then, so I would want you to do another row, but just to save time on the video, I'm just going to demonstrate one row, and then say I have 2 rows, and then you have this here, and then this is where you can kind of trim it a little bit, so making it a little shorter so it doesn't hide most of your weave. And very carefully with your scissors, you can kind of change it up a little bit. Using thicker yarn might kind of add a cool effect too. So, thicker yarn to use. Cool, and you can kind of see why adding another row will kind of give a little more of a texture flair to it. So I'm going to go back after this video and add another row, or 2 or 3. So yeah, that's the shag carpet. Kind of can look at it from the side. I know I used a dark green. There we go. All right. Let me know if you have questions.